So now, what do you guys think is happening in this picture?
So the bigger giraffes are obviously gonna eat what's on the tree because they have longer necks so they can reach higher.
So they can survive
Yes.
and reproduce.
Exactly.
But the one with the shorter neck cannot eat. Although it could have ate bushes, but it
Well,
decided not to.
if it got smart enough, it could have stood up on its back legs, like how Diplodocus's and Brachiosaurus did.
That is true. That is
So
true.
that's why they
So-
evolved into
Man, they should have
Right.
still been like that.
So
Not
unfortunately,
smart.
our little short neck buddies did not stand on their hind legs and eat trees, so they died off. And so the giraffes with the longer necks could reach the leaves, and those are the ones that survived.
Man, that would have been awesome if we still had short-legged giraffes.
Okay, so how do we get giraffes with longer necks and finches with different beaks? What do you guys think? So yes, evolution.
Genetically mutations that were made in a lab.
Well, maybe not made in a lab, but we'll talk about how mutations come about.
Well, because they needed to be fitted into their environment, so they started evolving more and more.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh.
You guys are on it. Okay, so genetic
cow.
variation. So this is how we get different things in our species, or different things in a species. This is how we get longer necks, short necks, how we get skinny beaks, thick beaks. Yes.
That black rabbit right there is called an antelope jackrabbit.
We'll get to the rabbits in just a second. Okay, so first things, variation. This is another one of our vocab words. And so in your evolution box, I want you guys just to write the word variation. Good. Okay, so variation. Each individual has a unique combination of inherited traits. So what does that word inherited mean?
It is,
It
and
inherited.
it's inherited some of the genes.
So who is inheriting the genes?
The
The
children.
children.
Yes, the children. So they're inheriting the genes from the mother and father. And so next we have adaptation. So an inherited trait increases an organism's chance of survival. So organism again is just a fancy word for animal. Thank you. And so adaptation. So I want you to put adaptation in your natural selection box.
Okay. I'm pretty sure I spelled it wrong.
That's okay, as long as you know what it's saying. Okay, so an adaptation is basically a good thing that helps survival. So if we look at our bunnies over here, let's think. So first of all, we have 3 bunnies that look just like the parents. How did we get?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I want to know how they got that.
I believe that something got mistaken
So
when the mother.
maybe the mother cheated on the father.
That's what
So assuming that both parents were completely faithful, no infidelity here. So these are all their genetic children, all biological children. So how did we get 2 that look different?
Adoption.
No. These bunnies didn't adopt. These are all biological children.
Okay.
So what happened was there was variation in the genes and a mutation occurred. So even though this bunny is a perfectly fine, healthy bunny, there was some kind of mutation that caused it to have lighter fur and a smaller body.
That one also has a different shaped tail than all the other ones. The jackrabbit has the same tail as the other cottontails.
And so this one had a different mutation that caused darker fur and longer legs.
But
You know,
maybe
those
it
other
carried,
bunnies are cottontails.
Yes.
maybe
So
it carried genes from the ancestors.
that is also possible. Yes. So maybe Mr. Bunny's great-great-great-grandfather had a gene that caused dark fur. And that got passed down to this offspring. Even though it skipped him and skipped all these other ones, this one got that gene, and that made a difference.
Is that even possible?
Yes, it is in fact. And so, what would happen if our little bunny family lived in an area where the soil was really light colored? Let's think of the desert.
Okay.
Light colored soil, not very many places to hide.
They're done for.
So, which bunny would have the best chance of survival in that area?
Probably
The pygmy rabbit.
the small orange one.
Yes, right. So that one would blend in better with the soil, and it would have more places to hide because it's smaller. And so, what would this bunny do if it was able to survive best?
Probably. Well, the only thing that's wrong with it is that white tail. But probably it would probably either burrow in the ground.
So it's surviving. It's healthy. It's surviving. So what is the main goal of animals?
To survive and breed.
Yes, exactly. So this bunny would survive and have babies, and then we go from one bunny with light fur and a smaller body to 4 bunnies with light fur and a smaller body. And then those 4 bunnies go on to have 20 bunnies. And then all of a sudden we have a whole population of bunnies that have this smaller body and light fur. And that's how we get variation in adaptation. Good?
So it could be the same thing with this bunny,
Yes.
but in a different habitat.
Yes, absolutely. So if there's a habitat where the soil was darker,
Maybe like the rainforest.
maybe these longer legs help them run faster, and so running faster helped their survival. And then the same thing would happen. This bunny would survive, these would die off, and this one would survive and have babies.
A normal jackrabbit would survive in the desert, but I don't know where that one would survive at.
I'm not sure, but does that make sense to you guys?
Yeah.
Yes? So, question. What would the opposite of an adaptation be? So remember, our adaptation is an inherited trait that increases chances of survival for an organism.
Well,
maybe not.
that would
the chances
be-
of
So I need a
survival,
hand from somebody. Yes.
Maybe the chances of survival and maybe not increasing organisms.
So the opposite would be something that doesn't increase survival.
What's the word? I know the word.
I don't know if non-adaptation is a word, but I get what you're trying to say. So basically, yeah, so the opposite of an adaptation would be like what we were talking about, a bad mutation, or something that just doesn't help the animal in its environment. So that would be if we were in our light soil environment, then our darker fur bunny would not have very good chances. Okay.
Cool.
So let's look at this little Arctic fox here. What adaptations do you see? What phenotype? So what physical characteristics does it have? Yes.
So that one's an easy one. They have the fur, the white fur, to blend into the Arctic, and they also have their padded feet to walk on the snow so they don't sink in. And then they have usually longer tails.
And can't they run fast enough
They
to
can.
survive?
And also, when all the snow goes away, their fur turns brown, so they can.
So
So they
you
can
are an Arctic
survive.
fox expert. Yes.
And they can blend in with the snow so the predators will be able to find them.
They are
Exactly.
predators. I mean, if it's a baby fox, then
So you guys hit the nail on the head. So this fox, this animal, has evolved over time to have these different traits that you guys mentioned. And that allows it to survive best in this environment. If you were to throw a random fox from a forest into this environment, what do you think would happen? Like a red fox.
It wouldn't survive because it wouldn't be able to blend in.
and not only that, it'd be too cold for it.
Exactly. So this is adapted to its environment.
Yes,
It's big and huge.
Yes.
and it's not a